Al Carns has said some, extremely powerful stuff. He doesn't like the defence investment plan. He only saw it about 2 weeks ago. He'd wanted to see it much sooner, but John Healey, his former boss, wouldn't let him. Then when he saw the defence investment plan, he didn't think there was enough investment in drones, autonomous kit and artificial intelligence. In fact, he said that he doesn't, he thinks that we're preparing to fight the last war, not the next.
Can we talk about defence and defence spending in particular? Obviously, Keir Starmer's authority was dealt a pretty big blow last week when John Healey resigned. He was saying the armed forces weren't being given enough money to keep the country safe, which is quite the accusation when you think about it. Well, he's just been on his feet in the Commons delivering his resignation speech.
At this dangerous time, I see the current defence investment plans falling well short of what is required. A rise of 0.08% from next year to 2030, no date for reaching 3%, no path to 3.5%. By 2030, well over half of NATO members will be spending 3% or more. And when allies are looking for British leadership, we must not fall behind. When NATO needs European nations to step up, we must not fall short. Our adversaries don't follow timetables set by the Treasury. I appreciate how hard this is for Cabinet colleagues, and I'm very grateful to those who support what's required. But not all needs to be done by cutbacks elsewhere. There are credible ways of meeting the mid-term funding challenges, working multinationally, and as other nations in Europe are doing. That could allow us to protect the ability to deliver our Labour missions across government.
Is he blaming the Treasury there, Rachel Reeves, essentially, Oliver? What do you think?
Yes, I think that's a fair conclusion. If you look at some of the background to this, the principal irritation and, well, frankly, anger from Healey was that, Rachel Reeves stuck in, and she said, I am not prepared to, fund this extra money. She proposed a defence settlement plan that began in the kind of low billions, and it was really actually Starmer that lifted it up to 13.5, but Healey doesn't think it's good enough. The particular point of contention that he referenced there is that he tried to get a commitment out of the Treasury that the government would spend 3% of GDP on defence by 2030. Now, that is clearly a decision for the spending review that's due to take place next year. And both Reeves and Starmer were unprepared to give him that commitment. And that was really, it's related to the defence investment plan, but that was really the thing that triggered his departure.
But what, if anything, will change if we have another Prime Minister in a few months' time?
I think that's the thing. And if you talk to sort of those people who are slightly more sceptical about a sort of a Berman premiership, they say, we really need to have answers for him on what he is going to do on those difficult, intractable questions, like where do you find the money for defence? Do you accept that will require cutbacks in other areas, or do you accept that requires you to raise taxes? And they say, in some ways, that's the people who think there should be a leadership election want those kind of issues aired, because there isn't a magic money tree. It's not as if Burnham would come into Downing Street and all would be solved. He would have to grapple with exactly the same kind of horrible issues that Starmer is having to deal with.
Now, John Healey, the Defence Secretary, of course, has been formerly, who has just recently resigned, gave his resignation speech in the House of Commons earlier. He said that Keir Starmer was saying the right things about defence, but the money wasn't there.
At this dangerous time, I see the current defence investment plans falling well short of what is required. A rise of 0.08% from next year to 2030, no date for reaching 3%, no path to 3.5%. By 2030, well over half of NATO members will be spending 3% or more. And when allies are looking for British leadership, we must not fall behind.
John Healey, and the former Armed Forces Minister who also resigned, Al Carns, he had this to say.
As the clouds of war darken Europe's border once more, Do we need to learn the lessons our forefathers learnt in World War II or indeed the Cold War? This isn't about individual items of equipment or bespoke defence funding lines, but about preparedness, about unity of purpose, prioritisation and national resilience. We are no longer packaging up our military to deploy to a foreign field, but being ready to fight from here, fight from the home base, for democracy, for the right to self-determination and for European security. The reality is we are spending too much time preparing for last year's war, not tomorrow's. And I urge the House to push for transformation, push hard and push for delivery this side of 2030.
Al Carns there in the Commons. Larissa Brown is our defence editor at The Times. Hello to you, Larissa.
Hi, John.
Hi, tell me what you think. So, John Healey, his basic objections to the defence funding plan is pretty plain, but what now? Do you judge there is room for change, something more generous, or does Dan Jarvis just have to like it or lump it?
Well, look, I'm hearing very mixed messages about this. We've obviously had Sir Keir Starmer speaking to reporters at the G7 today, and he seems to be suggesting that Dan Jarvis has got to look at the money that he's got and where he thinks it should be spent. I was told yesterday, though, by number 10 sources that there was nothing decided. There was room, potentially, I was told, for him to get more money. He's obviously got to make the case for it. But obviously, you've got these words from military chiefs, Sir Richard Knighton up at the committee today, really piling that pressure on Sir Keir Starmer to increase funding.
Right, and we also heard, of course, from Al Carns there, who seems to be acting on his own account. What is Al Carns' distinct position?
Well, Al Carns has said some, extremely powerful stuff. He doesn't like the Defence Investment Plan. He only saw it about 2 weeks ago. He'd wanted to see it much sooner, but John Healey, his former boss, wouldn't let him. Then when he saw the Defence Investment Plan, he didn't think there was enough investment in drones, autonomous kit and artificial intelligence. In fact, he said that he doesn't, he thinks that we're preparing to fight the last war, not the next. And he's also commented on the funding figure that Keir Starmer's only offering the MOD 13.5 billion over the next 4 years. That would take defence spending to 2.68% in 2030. And Healey said that he thinks we should be spending 3% by then. In fact, in his statement today in the Commons, he was saying about how many NATO allies will be spending that 3% by that point, and we don't want to fail to keep on our leadership role in NATO.